Aaron, welcome to the podcast, man. I'm super excited to have you on today, man. I'm looking forward to talking with you and learning more about you and hearing your story. So thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey man, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So for people who don't know you and just to kind of kick us off, I think it'd be best if you take us through kind of your story and your timeline from kind of the transition leaving post-secondary and high school, like that time frame of your life to kind of where we are now. And then we can bring it full circle as we go.
Cool. Yeah, you know, when I was growing up, I was always fast and I played all kinds of sports. And I always figured like what the common denominator between all of them was that I was faster than a lot of people that were playing the game. So whether I was playing baseball or soccer or basketball or football, it kind of all just came back to speed. And just logically, I just kind of found myself on the track. I rotated between sports just to, keep myself active and stuff. And then one thing led to another. The club coach at my school at Birchmount noticed me and said, "Hey, you could be good at track if you come out to my club and, train for this full time." And I was like, "Man, I don't want to," but he said he played for my club dudes in the summer. So I was like, "All right, fine, I'll give it a shot." And I went and I got a lot faster. So I'm like, you know what, I want to see how far I could take this. So I just kind of, after that moment, kind of just committed and said, I want to train full time, see if I can get faster and what I can do with this. And sure enough, my grade 11 year, I got a full ride scholarship down to the States after I got second in the world in the under 18 world championships. So yeah, after that, I had a whole bunch of people knocking on my door that wanted me to come down to the NCAA. I had to figure out what that was and kind of go through the process of learning what schools I wanted to go to and what opportunities there were, what I had to do to be eligible and all that stuff. And I kind of just figured it out. I had people in my corner that were helping me along the way. And I ended up going to University of Southern California and just, from Toronto, went down to LA. So that was kind of the thing that started it all.
Yeah. Interesting. So what I want to know is what was that eligibility process like for you? Like what was that experience like?
So you have to take the SATs, which is like a standardized test that they do in the States. And you have to score high enough that they mix like your SAT score with your GPA. And every school is different with their standards. So some are stricter than others, depending on how good academically they are. USC is pretty high academically. So I was pretty fortunate to be able to get accepted into there. But, it's just a matter of getting your grades up and getting your transcript sent over to the schools. And they'll look at that and say, okay, based on your grades, we'll look at your SAT scores and okay, we think you need to take it again because you need to get listed a little higher, or you might need to, take summer school for this class and get this grade up or whatever. So they tinker it and play with it depending on what your numbers look like.
Interesting. So that process then, because that's a foreign thing to me, right? Is that process of SATs? Like I've only ever heard about it in American TV shows, if I'm being honest, right? So for you to say it's a real thing, I'm like, all right, interesting, right? So what I'm curious about with that is I didn't know they could, like, you can kind of manipulate it a little bit. Obviously not to an extent where you're fabricating things, but where you can like, oh, okay, like it's different for each school, eh? So what do you have to kind of piece together a bunch of schools that you want to apply to or that have good, like a good system to help you kind of achieve what you want to achieve. And then you kind of pick those and go, okay, what's the process of going to each of them?
Right. And sometimes an athlete won't be able to meet the standards. So they'll tell you to go to a junior college in the States for like a year or two and then transfer into the school. So that's another route a lot of people go.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's just trying to make sure that all your ducks are in a row. So the higher the grades you have, the better. It definitely matters in the classroom as well as your athletic prowess. But I was fortunate enough to meet everything I needed in order to go to whatever school I wanted to with my grades and my NCT score.
Nice. And now that focus was it was more just on which had the better program for what you were trying to do in terms of athletics, right? It like education wasn't really the top of the priority list for that. Like, how do you kind of justify priorities in that?
So
time zone?
Yeah, first and foremost, I wanted to go somewhere where I'd be fast, right? So like, I think just naturally as a young athlete, you want to get faster, and you're looking at all the great programs that have developed athletes before. So coaches would come to my house and interview with me and my parents, and like kind of tell me about their program and show off about like, okay, we put this athlete here and got him pro, or you know, we have really great academics, or we have a really great location, or whatever
Right.
their strong suit is, and they'll kind of make their best pitch in their in the house. And they also, you get 5 official visits, which mean they're paid. So the schools will fly you out and
Come
bring you in
on.
for a weekend. They'll hook you up with a host,
No
and they'll take you
way.
around campus. They'll let you meet the team, uh, meet, you know, some professors and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff. Like you go around and just basically they show off and see, okay, yeah, like they make their best pitch. Like, we want you to come here. And then sometimes you get to go to a football game if you're in the season, right season. Sometimes it's a basketball game. Sometimes it's a track
Yeah.
meet. It just depends on the time of the year. Um, so yeah, you get 5 visits that are paid for, and you can take
Interesting.
unofficial visits whenever you want. But those aren't paid for.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I went through that process and kind of just factored in like, okay, all the schools that I'm visiting have really good track programs. So now I can't use that as my determining factor. So like that's when stuff like education and where I'm going to be living and stuff like that came into play, because I had to nitpick. I had to like say, okay, both these are great track programs, but this school has this advantage over the other.
I see. So when it came into, okay, it kind of helped make that overall decision for you, eh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Right on. So from there, how did, were there scouts for the national team, or is it their standards to meet?
Yeah.
Like, how does that, so then you just kind of qualify and then things go that way?
Yeah.
Or,
So at the World Youth Championships, which was my first national team,
yeah.
they did it that it was the top 2 times that have standard in the nation that go. So once I hit the standard at OFSA, I qualified for the national team because I was the fastest under 17 athlete in the country. So then they picked me for the team,
Yeah.
and we went over to Italy with the rest of the team. Canada was built out with other people that have hit the standard. At the World Junior Championships the following year, there was actually a trial at the same place where the World Championships were. Those are actually in Canada, in Moncton.
Yeah.
So there's a trial at Moncton, and you have to come top 2 to, you know, represent Canada in your event, and then from there you're selected to the team, and you also have to have the standard as well.
Interesting. So what I want to know, before we get to the whole Olympic side of it, so what always has amazed me, and kind of looking back on your journey and the process of all this, before again the whole like the Olympic side and ask the things I'm curious about, but what's always kind of amazed me, and I've kind of been envious in terms of Olympic athletes with this, is not so much like the opportunities and like the cool process of how everything goes and the on television you're competing, but to me it's all the cool places you're fortunate enough to go visit.
Right.
Right? Like that's insane to me. Like all the cool like countries, cities, the different people you get to meet, like you get to essentially travel the world and
Right.
compete the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what I'm curious about, do you have like a favorite travel experience, whether it could be Olympic related, not like competition related at all? Like, do you have a favorite like travel experience that stood out to you?
Um, I really love going to Oslo, which is in Norway.
Yeah.
Uh, Great food, you know, great like Icelandic food that you get. Like all the fish is very fresh, all the meat is good. You know, it just I just like the vibe, and like
Yeah.
the city is very clean. They're very nice people. The venue that we run at is good. The crowds are always positive and loud. So running in Oslo is great. I like Tokyo a lot, actually. It was unfortunate that it was during COVID that we didn't really get to go around the city. But I've been to Japan before, and I love their culture. They're very respectful. Everything very clean as well.
Interesting.
So yeah, and then, you know, all the anime stuff and the video games and whatnot. So all that stuff is cool too to see, you know, plastered around the city. Um, where else? London. London's one of my favorite cities. It reminds me a lot of Toronto, just with the diversity and the culture
Yeah.
there. So And also the food is great. I always love Nando's. They have one in Toronto. So,
Yeah.
but
Nice.
I first had it in the UK. At first, you could only get it there. So, yeah, yeah, those three. I'll pick those.
Nice. I found I've in terms of creating like different experiences whenever I go places, I find the culture, like you said, I don't want it to be similar to like the Western culture that we kind of
Mm,
get, right?
mhm.
And so I'm gonna go, how completely different can we go? Like, where's the furthest away place from the culture
Right.
that I'm experiencing now? All right, I
Mm,
want to go there. Right. I don't want to
yeah.
see what's going on here. I want to meet those people. And more often than not, I found they're they're a lot more welcoming than typically you'd give them credit for. I don't know
Yeah.
if you found that, but they all just people make the experience for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, of course, I'm there as an athlete, so there's always that special added element too that they're like, "Oh, cool, you're gonna run," and
Yeah.
they kind of appreciate the athletic side of it. So people are on their extra nice behavior, I should say, most times. So that's
Yeah.
always good.
Nice. Now, do you in terms of how the transition from just being fast on sports teams growing up to national team and seeing how everything kind of changed and how things have gone, and then friends of yours or teammates of yours and how they've done things different or similarities, is there any like one thing that you'd kind of recommend if people want to get into like running specifically and training at that level and who maybe don't know at all what direction to take that you've
I
seen maybe
always,
works?
yeah, I always tell young people to join a track club. Like, look at the most successful athletes in your area, and most of the time they're going to be associated with some kind of track club, which means you're on the high school team, but you also train with a club outside of your high school team. And most times you're just training with that club, and then you just compete for the school. That's what I did. And if
Yeah.
I had just went with the high school coach, they don't really commit to knowing track and field. They're just out there just because that they're the gym teacher or whatever it is. So they
Yeah.
don't really know how to get you faster or how to help you jump farther or throw farther or whatever your event is.
Yeah.
But if you go to a track club, that's what they're there for. So you're around other people too that are also on the same wavelength, trying to get better and improve and possibly go down to the States or CIS or whatever, and get a scholarship or go to the next level.
Mhm.
So if you're with like-minded people, you're gonna push each other to be better. So I'd
Right.
say surround yourself with people who are trying to achieve the same things that you are as early as you can.
Really, you can. Now, having seen how everything works and what maybe doesn't, especially in terms of Canada, because as of late, it seems that Canadian athletics has kind of picked up storm, right?
Mm,
Like there's more of you at the top, right? And it's fucking awesome to see, right? And so what I want to know though is seeing all that and seeing kind of how you've come up and how teammates of yours have come up, and maybe people in the past have done things that you've been like, ooh, maybe I'm gonna avoid telling people about that one. If you had the ability, like wave a magic wand, and Aaron, you got to change one thing about the Canadian national like athletics, like the training program itself, like the training that you guys do or something like that, what would be one big thing you would change?
like competing for Team Canada, you mean?
Yeah, it could be the approach to the training, or it could be like the way everything's set up to peak in different times for different races. Like,
Right. Um, so they did this in the past, and sometimes people still fall victim to it. And that's they make you commit to the relay team versus your own individual event when you're not at the level of someone they think can make the finals. So
interesting.
back when I was younger, right, and still trying to prove myself and separate and whatever, and I was going through the ranks, they didn't see me as someone like I ran the 100 and 200 and I would qualify in those events,
Yeah.
but they thought our best opportunity would be to come together for the relay. And so they would prioritize me training with the relay team versus me training with my coach to do something in the individual events. And that was problematic because it's like, how am I ever supposed to get to that level where I am like a bona fide sprinter running the 100 and 200, and you see me as someone who can make the finals or challenge for medals,
Mhm.
if you keep cutting me at the legs by telling me, oh, you can't really train with your coach for this long, you got to come do this relay program and focus on that because we think that's our best chance to get a medal. And
Yeah.
eventually I broke through and broke out of that because I ran fast enough that they had no choice but to see me as that. You know,
Right.
guys like myself and Andre, they don't do that to me anymore because we've proven ourselves at that stage.
Yeah.
But it's hard to break out because it's like you're constantly having to put your own individual aspirations at the back end in favor of the relay. Um,
Right.
and that still happens to certain athletes that haven't broken through yet and
Yeah.
are trying to break through. Like nobody just wants to be a relay guy. Like everybody wants to be in the individual events, running for themselves and going for that glory. But still happens to younger athletes or athletes that haven't broken through because they're just seeing like, okay, it's a numbers game. We want our best athletes in the right places,
Yeah.
and we don't think of you as an individual athlete. We think of you as just a relay person. So I think
Ah,
we need a better grassroots like transition program in Athletics Canada where we're nurturing that talent so that they can become the 100, 200 individual athletes and not just relay guys wasting weight, not wasting weight, but like not really improving, you know?
right. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. So kind of in regards to that, what are some different things you've noticed over the because of the way COVID's kind of affected
Mhm.
the Olympic Games? How was that versus the ones you've done in the past? Where like how was it like? Was it more stressful? Like how was that for you? Like from a mental side of it?
Man, that was tough because in the height of COVID in 2020, when like we had no idea what COVID was and what we're dealing with, and
Mhm.
slowly we just saw things start to shut down and like events get canceled and whatever. The Olympics was like the last domino to fall. So it was
Yeah.
like the NBA shut down, the NFL shut down, uh, NHL shut down, and just like one by one. And we're like, okay, the Olympics is still out in August,
Yeah.
in like July, August. So maybe we'll be safe. Maybe by then we'll have it figured out. But then
Yeah.
it got postponed to 2021. It's like, okay, then now what are we doing now in the meantime?
Yeah.
It's like we have our sponsors and our obligations, so they still want to, recoup some money. So we still got to compete, but it's like we can't really train because facilities are closed. So like we're like
Yeah.
winging it and making it up as we go. So it was hard to be motivated because like we're
Yeah.
running in grass fields, like soccer fields that are like uneven and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're getting kicked out of places because we're not supposed to be there, and there's like signs and we're like jumping fences and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
You
it's like,
have to.
yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah,
it's
it's what
like
it
if we're
takes.
not and our competition is, then they're not going to care. We got to be in shape somehow.
Yeah.
So that was stressful, but uh,
Jeez.
fortunately, I've trained in Florida, and we've been able to train at our facilities, and as long as we adhere to like protocols like wearing masks and social distancing and all that stuff,
Yeah.
we're
The
we're,
whole
we're pretty good.
nice.
But I know other places in Canada, for example, are dealing with like I have friends that are in there that have no access to facilities because they
Mhm.
closed down again because of the numbers spike. So like
Yeah.
having to constantly deal with that is very stressful. But it's something I fortunately don't have to deal with. But I know other athletes do.
Yeah. Thankfully. Jeez. That's wild. Because how do you train to peak for that? Because right, because isn't your training like it's specifically designed to peak at certain events, right? Or
Yeah,
for certain, I guess, days, right? Or
right.
times of the year. I don't know
Hmm.
how specific you guys get. Like if you train for the hour or you only train in the morning because you race in the morning, right?
Yeah.
But how do you train? How do you set up the training plan for that, especially when everything's unknown? Do you just, like you said, wing it or?
Yeah, I mean, 2020, we pretty much wing it the whole time. Like it was tough, but
Gee.
unfortunately, the Olympics got postponed, so we didn't have to worry about like having a peak for that and the trials for that.
Yeah.
Um, but in 2021, like I said, we were fortunate enough to have access again, so we could
Mm,
properly target our points where we want to peak and train really hard
yeah.
because we had our access to it. But for people that don't, that just throws off the whole program. I mean, you have to adapt constantly. Like, okay, we lost this amount of time training because of the lockdown. Now, how can
Mhm.
we recoup that and make it up? And sometimes you
Nice.
can't, and sometimes you just have to do it the best you can.
Right. Now, as kind of everything's coming to fruition, isn't don't you guys have like you have world championships next
Mhm.
year, this year,
This year,
right?
this year.
Yeah, this year. Sorry, I was in December in my head for some reason. This is my bad. So you have it this year, and then you have championships again next year, right? And then Olympics in 2024 in Paris.
Right. Yeah.
Ridiculous. Do you get like, is there
Yeah.
a downtime to it? Is there like, there's peaks and valleys, but where are the valleys? Where do they fit in that? Because like,
Yeah,
geez,
there's not really one, and this is unprecedented. Usually it's like world championships, Olympics, world championship, and then a down year. And
right.
the down years when people like kind of reset and regroup and,
Yeah,
maybe not run as much, or maybe just run for fun or run for collect a check, and it's not really as stressful. But yeah,
nice.
we got championships back to back to back to back because of that COVID year. Um, so it's a good opportunity for people who want to prove themselves because there's going to be ample times to do it.
Yeah,
And for someone like me who's trying to be on the podium in an individual event,
yeah.
I got a lot of opportunities ahead of me. So
Mhm.
I could look to take advantage of that. But at the same time, it's going to be tough because it's like you're at this thing every year, and every year is an important
Yeah,
year. So you got to be on your A game every time you step on that world championship track.
for sure.
So, it's
Jeez.
all leading up to Paris, because
Yeah,
that's the most important thing is the Olympics. But at the same time, you have the world championships, which are just as big for us.
yeah. You can't. What is the big difference between the two? Like if you were to say it
The
to
main
somebody who doesn't know.
difference,
Yeah.
yeah. So for one, the Olympics doesn't pay anybody, and the world championships do. So you would think it'd be the other way around,
Yeah.
but because the main reason for that is because the IOC is in charge of the Olympics, and the IOC makes all the money from the sponsors and the TV deals and all that stuff. And in world championships, it's ran by the World Athletics, which
Uh,
pays its athletes. So
amazing.
yeah, but the
Amazing.
main difference is viewership and the TV rights. Pretty much, like everybody watches the Olympics, and it's a way bigger deal than just the World Championships because of the viewership and how many people are going to watch it and pay attention and tune in. And the IOC is involved, and also the World Championships is just track, but the Olympics will be all the sports, the
That's
Summer
true.
Olympic
Yeah.
sports.
Hmm.
So it's a way bigger deal because you have way more people watching, way bigger
Hmm.
of an audience, and everybody wants to be the Olympic champion, and that's
Right.
always been the pinnacle.
For
World
sure.
Championship is great too,
Yeah.
but nothing is higher than the Olympic champion.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I definitely would have thought it'd be the other way around, but that makes a lot of sense when you say it because
Mm-hmm.
I definitely know of friends of mine who don't watch anything in terms of
Yeah,
like athletics or stuff like me, my folks, like friends of mine, because we're like we really just enjoy sport and competition. And well, whatever we do. So we like to watch that and like, oh, world championships come up. We like to just see because it's how's this process being ran? Who's racing? What are they like? How are they doing it? What's their approach? Like, what do they say after? What do they say before?
yeah,
But then I see people like just at their office, they'll just have two monitors, one on with the Olympics, just live streaming the whole thing for the 2 weeks, and then or however long some are, and then one they're just doing their normal day job. I'm like, what's
right.
going on? What event? And they're like, no idea. I'm like, all
Yeah,
right. And they're like, yeah, they
yeah,
see the Canadian flag, they get hyped up, and then they pay attention.
yeah, yeah. It's more of an event. I feel like that's more of a thing that people tune into. It's like you got Super Bowl, you got like the Stanley Cup playoffs, and then you
Yeah,
got the NBA finals and stuff. But the Olympics is like on par with that. Whereas
for
World
sure.
Championships is more of like a niche sport with like more
Yeah,
track enthusiasts that tune in, not really like the common person.
right. What are some common misconceptions people have about the Olympics in general that people may not see
Mm.
looking through their TV screen that you guys experience?
Well, like I said earlier, we don't get paid, and a lot of
Yeah.
people think you make a lot of money at the Olympics, and you literally make none. Where you make your money is if you have your sponsors, or if you do really well, you get paid afterwards because you have incentives in your shoe contract, or
Yeah.
maybe you win a medal and your government might give you a bonus, or
Yeah.
you pick up a new sponsor. But the Olympics itself, you do get no money. So that's a common misconception because people think, oh, you're rich, you're on
Yeah.
TV, you're at the Olympics. No.
It's like, no. So I'm shutting that down right now.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Another one is like, I think a lot of people don't realize how restrictive it is. Like, we have no rights over ourselves. So let's
What?
say, sorry, let me take that back. We have no rights over our video of ourselves. So if I wanted to post a race of myself running at the Olympics, the IOC could take that down off of social media. And that's literally happened to me. I posted like a couple seconds of me running, just a replay, and they took it down because they have the rights to you and your likeness at the Olympics.
What?
So during that time, they have all the footage rights to it, and you're not allowed to post it without consent from them, and they almost never give you consent. If you want consent to stream it somewhere or use it in like a film or on your social media page or in a documentary or an article, whatever, you have to pay for it. And they charge
to pay
like,
for it.
Yeah.
You don't just have to ask
for
permission.
yourself. Yeah. And they charge you like an insane rate, right? So I remember my friend was telling me, I don't have the exact numbers, but I'm gonna ballpark it just so you get an idea.
Nice.
So if I wanted to take a sample footage of myself and pay for it from the world championships, right? I go to the World Athletics and it'll be like $100 every 10 seconds, for example, right? That's not actually what it is, but let's just go
roughly. Yeah, easy numbers. Yeah.
If I want to go to the Olympics and get that same footage, a 10-second clip, they'll charge you like 50 grand or something like that.
No
so
way.
It's like that big of a gap. Like
Aaron, come on.
It's insane.
No way.
It's insane. The Olympics are like,
that's brutal.
And it's just because of the viewership, right? Because so many people tune into the Olympics, and there's so many more sponsors that pay into the Olympics that they sell enormous amount of money, or so they make an enormous amount of money from TV deals and all sponsorships and all that stuff. So that footage now of you running, same event, same athlete, but just because you're at the Olympics and you have those 5 rings, now that footage is way more valuable.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's both really cool and like really sad.
Yeah.
Like, geez, man. And
like, yeah. So,
that's kind of,
and there's a lot of different rules like that at the Olympics where like so many things are restricted. Like there's like a blockout period where like, if let's say I have a sponsor, right? Like I had a sponsor with Canadian Tire when I was at the Olympics. If I wanted to say, hey, shout out to Canadian Tire for sponsoring me, helping me get to the Olympics, I'm not allowed to mention the Olympics itself during that period. Unless they sponsored the Olympics and they're an Olympic partner, I'm not allowed to mention Canadian Tire in Olympics or Tokyo or make any kind of reference to them, to the Olympics during that blackout window. So it's like, I don't even know how long it is, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. But during that period, when the Olympics are going on, there's a blackout period where I'm not allowed to say anything specifically with the Olympics itself and my sponsor. The only way is if they sponsored the Olympics itself. So like a Powerade, for example, is an Olympic sponsor. So if I had a Powerade deal, I could say, hey, thank you for Powerade for getting me to the Olympics because they sponsored the Olympics too. And I think that's just a way for the Olympics to keep the money within the IOC, because if they could just sponsor individual athletes, why do they need to give money to the Olympics, right?
Yeah.
So they need to like give some incentive for people to sponsor the Olympics itself. It's all about money.
Yeah,
and
it's brilliant.
It's really crazy. It is. It's a great business model. It's just like the NCAA when they didn't used to have to pay their athletes, but they're making billions on like March Madness and college football and stuff like that. And now they have NIL and stuff, so it's a little better, but you know, they've made so much money off of not having to pay people because of that amateur title.
Yeah. So then you kind of have to be pretty mindful about what you can and can't post and like how you kind of go about, like, you can't just be honest. You're like showing people around and everything. Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's tough. Like, I mean, I guess bringing in fans is what the Olympics does on its own, right? As just
It's a platform. It's a
powerhouse.
platform.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you
interesting.
become an overnight superstar if you have great success there.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
the Olympics itself is just a platform for you to show your talent. It's not a place for you to make money at the event itself. All the money pretty much goes to the IOC.
Yeah. That's crazy. So speaking of craziness and success in the Olympics, your 4x100 relay.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm curious about, so your bronze medal that you guys have, right? That's getting upgraded to silver, or it's in the works of it, or what's kind of take me through that process, because I have a couple things I'm curious about on that.
Yeah.
So
right now it's still a bronze.
Yeah.
Pending the case with CJ and his unfortunate mishap with drugs and stuff like that, the entire team might get disqualified, because if you have one athlete who's ruled ineligible at the Olympics, you have to take out the entire team. So even though the other three did nothing wrong, they are collateral damage. And once they're out, everybody else moves out. So we will be upgraded to silver and China would be upgraded to bronze. But the ruling on the case for the athlete that failed the test is still ongoing and no official word has been made. I have no idea how long it's gonna take or what happens when that happens, because it's never happened to me before.
Right.
Where I get upgraded because of a doping failure.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen other athletes have that happen retroactively, like years later, because what they do is when you take a drug test, they keep it on file for like, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. And they retest it as their testing methods get better over time. So you might pass a test now, but the technology might get better at detecting in 6 years. And they might go back and retest it and find that you actually had banned substances. And then retroactively, you will get banned and disqualified. So a lot of people become Olympic medalists or Olympic champions retroactively after the fact, because they keep retesting old samples. And so for us, it's actually good because it happened almost, right away after the Olympics. So we didn't have to wait like 5 years to say, hey, by the way, you guys are actually silver medalists. Because Great Britain got caught with a doped athlete. But yeah, I have no idea how long the arbitration process is and how long all this stuff happens. I don't even know what happens if I got to mail my medal back, if I, get a brand new silver, or if I take, Great Britain silver. I'm sure it's not that, but yeah, I don't know the process at all. I'm just kind of, moving on with my life, and we got upgraded. Cool.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was talking to a friend of mine on like my run like 3 hours ago that we went on. And I was telling him about that specifically. I was like, yeah, I'm really curious about this. And he's like, how does that work? And I'm like, well, I definitely don't think they Amazon Prime you a package, that just has a silver medal in it. And he's like, yeah, I don't know what they do. I was wondering if it's like a ceremonial thing, or now what I'm really curious about that is, does the nostalgia wear off? Does the feeling wear off, or is it just like, was the big thing when you won, and like that feeling it's the same feeling?
Yeah. So I think, well, first of all, we were already disappointed collectively as a group after the race. So even though we won a medal, we're so appreciative of that, and you never take for granted an Olympic medal.
For
sure. But we really felt like we had the team to win. Yeah. So when we fell short of that, we're like, damn, and it was kind of like, okay, at least we got third. But we really were kind of disappointed with our result and not doing better, and at least breaking the Canadian record or something. We ran close to it, but didn't quite get it. We made a lot of mistakes and left a lot of time on the table. Mm-hmm. So getting the silver now, it wasn't like a huge boost of energy and like a wave of euphoria. Like, oh yeah, a silver. It's cool because I already have a bronze from 2016. So now to have the silver, it's like, oh yeah, I don't have
full
that.
collection.
That's cool. Yeah. Now we can go for gold in 2024, for sure. And then I'll have the full set.
Right
on. But
fuck yeah.
I think it would be even worse if we were fourth and had nothing, And then we get the bronze after the fact because like we don't get to
Yeah,
stand on the podium, we don't get the photo op.
it's a big
It's like
thing.
the moment has passed,
Yeah.
it's just, if we're fortunate enough that we're at least on the podium already. But if we were
Mhm.
China and we're fourth and we're like, okay, we might get a bronze like way later with no like, hype to it,
Yeah, kind of lame.
we don't get that. Yeah, it's just it
Yeah.
doesn't hit the same. It's not the same
Yeah.
energy.
No, for sure. Do you guys have, like, you mentioned like being disappointed in races and everything. What's your, like, I know as a team you probably have your own ways of doing it, but for you, what's your reflection process after races? Because your 200 was like stupid fast. The
Yeah,
whole race,
yeah.
everything yours, like you ran a personal best, didn't you? And like,
I ran close to it
oh yeah,
in the semifinal. But in the final, it's just kind of. I remember when I finished sixth, I kind of just sat there on the steps because the way the setup is you run the race and then you go up the stairs. You go like zigzag, and then you go up and then all the way down, and then out through, and eventually go under the tunnel, do more media until you finally get to your close. So like all the way through up those steps is different media places from around the world.
jeez.
So some of them stop you and be like, "Hey, can we get an interview? A few words, whatever." So before I wanted to go through that, I just like sat there on the track and had a moment to reflect to myself, kind of just like, damn,
Nice.
like this is the Olympics. This is my third one.
Yeah.
I made the finals, fell short of my goal of getting on the podium, but take it in because it's another 3 years until the next one.
Mhm.
And just like that, like the moment passes. So you kind of have to take little moments where you reflect and sit there because it goes by so fast.
Mhm.
So anytime I have a bad race, I'll always reflect, and I'm a very thoughtful person.
Yeah.
I like to analyze myself and say, okay, what did I do wrong? Where could I improve? And immediately I got into that mode. But before I did that, I was kind of just sitting there like, this is the moment, and it's gone. It's over with
Yeah.
now. And like, what's next? That's immediately my thought.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just reviewing the
Interesting.
race, replaying it in my head, and
Yeah.
saying like, oh, I made a mistake here. Oh, I wish I did that. Well, and then say, okay, next time, how do I be better? So yeah,
Nice. Interesting. Interesting. So I was curious, you like watch footage or how that process goes, but it must be nice to, I like that you're able to have that moment to
mhm,
reflect on
yeah,
it, like just kind of
mhm,
in your own head right after
yeah,
it happened. Because I
yeah,
feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen it a lot of times in the people I talk to at certain at elite levels and things, and they go like they chase the moment. Once they get there, they chase the moment. They get there, they chase the moment, and then they're always chasing the next moment. They don't actually, they're like, I'm like, what's the biggest thing that you took away from it? And
mhm,
most majority of the time it's stop and smell the roses, man. They're like, I
yeah,
just, all of a sudden I look back and I've done all these things and I'm like, I don't actually
yeah,
remember how I felt in those moments. So it's cool to hear that you were able to do that and kind of avoid
yeah,
that mistake, I guess.
yeah. I mean, and I for sure do that too. Like, I don't really stop and smell the roses very often. Um, I try to do more of it now that I'm older. Like I've done a lot of things in my earlier years that I kind of just rush by and don't
Mm,
really remember much of me like sitting there enjoying it because it just kind of was like, yeah, let's chase the next thing on the next thing. And as an athlete, I feel like you kind of have to have that just because when you rest on your laurels and you think like, oh, I've done this, whatever, you lose that motivation level just a smidge,
mm,
and you're not as hungry and is not as eager to go out there again and get it. And you have to be as hungry as you were before to that got you that place because the people that haven't achieved your level of success and want to be in your place are going to have that level of hunger,
oh,
and
for sure.
that's what's going to separate them and take them over the hump and potentially take your spot. So you have to
Uh,
constantly be on your p's and q's and tell yourself that you haven't done enough even though you might have achieved something that you've always wanted to
yeah.
achieve. And it's always like, okay, what's next, what's next, because your sponsors want more from you, your coaches want more from you, your agent wants more from you, your fans want more from you. And it's just constantly like, how much more can you give? Like, look at an athlete like Tom Brady. He just won the Super Bowl last year, but it's still like, okay, can you do it again though? Like, how many rings does he need? Does he need
Yeah.
10? Like, what will make him satisfied? But
Yeah.
like,
When's enough?
like, exactly. So it's
Yeah.
just like next, 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 next. They always want more and more and more.
Mhm.
And you can get caught up in that. So You know, the reflection really wasn't to smell the roses, is more because I was disappointed in my performance.
Yeah.
So I wish, you know, the moment was like, damn, I did really well and I could take that
Yeah.
in. But, you know, just the gratitude, or sorry, the magnitude of being at the Olympics was something that I also factored in. I was just like, you know what, I
Right.
fell short of my goal, but at least, you know, I made the final and I've gotten
Mhm.
further than I ever have before. So I
Correct.
have something to hang my hat on and build from here. And I'm going to be
Nice.
better, and, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, it didn't last very long. So I literally had the 4x1 prelims the next day in the morning.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
geez.
so we ran the 200 final
Jeez.
at night. I had doping after that, so that
Dope.
takes, you know,
Yeah.
an hour and a half. And then,
So just
you
like a
know,
blood test, urine test, and then they call it a day,
yeah,
or
urine
what's it?
test.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's both, sometimes blood and urine, but that one was just urine. So I had to wait, and I couldn't pee because, you know, I just ran, so like I just
Yeah.
burnt up, and it's hot
I
as
was like,
hell. Okay, it was
obviously, yeah.
middle of summer in Tokyo, it was super hot, so like I'm kind of
Brutal.
dehydrated, so I got to drink my water, wait, and then I was like literally on the last car out of the village, sorry,
Yeah.
the stadium, going back to the village,
Yeah.
just because it took me so long to pee. So I probably didn't go home till like 2, and then
Jeez.
we had the race at like 10 the next day, which means I have to leave at like probably 7, which means I got to wake up at like 6. So that's like, I don't know, 3-4 hours of sleep.
At best.
So yeah, I had no
Oof,
time to really
man.
sit and dwell on the 200 because I literally had to run the next day. But it's
Nice.
the Olympics, man. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's the nature of the beast, eh?
Yeah.
So did you how do you build that because I find when a lot of people are asked this question, like how you stay motivated or
Mm.
what do you do to be so like to be mentally strong enough to maintain that discipline throughout the years at that level? Like how do you manage that?
Um, I think about peace of mind. So if I
Interesting.
were to hang it up right now,
Yeah.
tomorrow I just announced my retirement, would I be satisfied with my performance and everything I did with my career?
Yeah.
And the answer is no, because I still feel like I have certain stones to turn over and
Nice.
things that I haven't accomplished yet.
Hmm.
And once that moment becomes yes, I have no reason to get out of bed and do what I do every day and train and kill myself at practice to
Hmm.
reach those levels, because I'm satisfied. And that's the ultimate goal, is having peace of mind, being able to sleep at night saying I gave my absolute best and there's nothing more that I could have done to change my story. So until I'm satisfied with that answer, I'm gonna keep going and getting up day after day, getting after it, because I feel like there's more to give, and I feel like there's
Hmm.
more to my story that I have to write. And those
Nice.
moments where I reflect, like in Tokyo after the 200, when I'm disappointed, I'm like, damn, I could have did more. Or even the 4x1 when we're disappointed with our bronze and we like feel like we can win. It's like, okay, we didn't get it now, but I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and work harder and be in the same moment the next year. And that's what helps with having opportunities like world championships, Olympics, because it's like I have more opportunities to chase the things I didn't get this year, and it's
Hmm.
not done yet. And I think the opportunity and the prospect of um, bouncing back and having another chance to go at it is something that always fuels my fire,
Nice.
because it's not done yet and I
Hmm.
still have more chances to do it. So it's like, if you think about like a video game and you have 3 lives, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I lost one of my lives, but I still have 2 more to work with. So let's give it my all and see how far I can go
Hmm.
until those lives are gone. And I look at
Nice.
the mortality of my career that way. Like I'm about to be 30 this year.
Interesting.
So it's
Yeah.
like I'm starting to get into those deeper years where it's like it's now or never. And so I want to maximize and know that when I move on to the next chapter of my life, I gave it all on the track as Aaron Brown, the track athlete.
Hmm. Nice, man. I like that. I like that a lot. Right on. So what I'm really curious about, okay, switching gears a little bit.
Okay.
Kingsley TV.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
what I've kind of gathered from the clips I watch, the reels I watch, whatever the videos, um, you're a pretty funny guy. Like you're pretty creative with the way you do
I try.
things. So It definitely shows, and I get a kick out of it. So what I'm curious
Appreciate
about
that.
is why did you decide to explore that kind of creativity in like that medium? Like what was because not every athlete, not many people, let alone athletes, do that, especially
Right.
as first person as you do, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that's the big part of it, is that not a lot of people do it.
mhm,
So I get DMs often with people who want to know more about what it's like to be a professional track athlete.
yeah,
So rather than just like give an answer, and like sometimes, I might be busy or there'd be a lot of requests. So it's like I can't give the attention and go back and forth with everybody the way I want to. I'm like, okay, why don't I just show it? You know, why don't I just take this question, and instead of just giving an answer in text, let me show it in video so a lot of people can see it. And then
right,
maybe other people who might be wondering might also watch it and be like, oh, I didn't know that. So I try
yeah,
to show different elements of the track and field experience and being a professional track athlete, because not a lot of people know you can even do this as a job. And
right, yeah,
some younger athletes, they might be aspiring to be in this position. They might want to know what they got to do to get here. So I give little tips sometimes. Sometimes I do motivational stuff, because a lot
mhm.
of people, it's hard, man. Track and field is hard, bro. So
Yeah,
I try to help
you
people,
don't
like,
say.
get through the hard days of training and stuff like that. Not even just track, like just life in general.
Yeah,
You could take principles from being a track and field athlete and apply that to everyday life.
for sure.
So I try to help people through that, because, there's days where I'm down and I need people to help me get up. So I want to hopefully do that for other people. And
Nice.
then there's just the skits, because I try to mix it up, and sometimes I try to find different ways for people to get that message that I'm trying to deliver. And it really just started with growing my brand, bro. Like, a lot of people didn't know my story
Hmm.
when I was younger, and I was kind of like always the guy in Andre's shadow.
Right.
And whenever people would write about me in articles and stuff like that, it was always like, yeah, Aaron Brown was supposed to be the next guy, and then Andre came along, and now Aaron's in his shadow, and he's like the number two
Yeah.
guy. Like, we got Andre, and then Aaron's right behind him, and I was like, okay, but there's more to me than just being Andre's rival or the next
Yeah.
up guy, the second number two guy
Not
in
I'm not
Canada.
Robin to his Batman.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
it's
I'm
not
like,
the case.
okay, if these people aren't going to change the narrative because this is easy to sell, it's just mention my name alongside his, then I'll give them more fodder. I'll give them more something to write about. Like, I'll tell it myself.
Yeah.
And the great thing about social media is you have the ability to put out whatever message you want to.
Right.
You can just post like pictures of you, chilling and going to the club and vibe it out and wearing, luxury clothes and like
Yeah.
a designer and all that. Or you can use it as a tool to like let people know what you're all about. And
Right.
especially as like an athlete, I turn my channels into like a business essentially, where it's representing my brand. And that's what Kingsley TV is like
Hmm.
the brand side of Aaron, you know?
Yeah.
So when people see me on TV, it's not just like, oh, there's the runner guys. They might see me and know me from Instagram or YouTube and be
Hmm.
like, hey, I've seen some of his videos. I know like he does creative stuff like that. And he's also a runner. So they might
Yeah.
be more likely to follow me and feel like they are part of the journey because they
Hmm.
they watch me in different avenues. So it was just a matter of like putting stuff out there that I feel like not a lot of people know about and kind of filling
Nice.
that void.
That's freaking cool, man. I
Yeah.
like that a lot. I like that a lot. I had the main it was funny. There's that. So because of so I ran cross country and track throughout high school, and then in post secondary track and field, like there wasn't a program at the college I was at, but that was also not a focus. Like the whole thing was education for me. And what I wanted to do sorry. So they didn't have a program, so I didn't pursue it, but I'd always done that for like a form of cross training or whatever. And I still did like track workouts with friends and stuff. And because of the track clubs I was a part of in high school, I still am in touch with those people. And
Nice.
it's funny that I was talking to a few people kind of towards the beginning, the end of the Olympics and stuff. And then even the last like few 4 months, like before I reached out, where I had asked a lot of people, like mother, some friends, some athlete. All my friends are pretty much athletes. So they all said, I was like, I was like, I want some cool stories. I don't just want, because when people are at the center of
Mhm.
what we all see, it's very, very, very tough to find things that are unique and authentic,
Yeah.
right? Because people right now are craving authenticity more than anything. It's why podcasts are so popular,
Yeah.
right? And so I think seeing the way you've kind of, like, it's you, man, right?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not, there's no like fabrication to this, there's no that,
Right.
it's all authentic and uniquely you, which is what I really appreciate
Yeah.
about it. So I'm like, oh, I'll subscribe, I'll check this out. This is sweet. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Some like the more motivational stuff directly applies to me, but then the running stuff, I'm like, this is interesting. I definitely know
Mhm.
somebody who could benefit from this. So
Right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
that's
And
interesting.
you know, uh, I know it's easier to grow on platforms when you like stick to one thing. So if I did like all motivational stuff or all funny stuff or whatever,
Mhm.
I might grow faster because easier to categorize because a lot of people like this stuff. It's easier for Instagram to push that to them.
Right.
But at the same time, that wouldn't be true to who I am because some
No.
days I feel motivational. Some days I feel
Mhm.
like doing a skit. Like sometimes I feel like doing some creative stuff. Sometimes I feel like showing my family. And that's just
Nice.
like I'm literally just showing my life and
Right.
kind of making that my strategy, rather than trying to go all in on one thing and neglect other sides of myself. I try to
Yeah.
just express who I am as a person. And then
Yeah.
if people like it, they like it.
Right. Because it's your, like, so you said, right? It's you, it's your
Yeah.
story, your brand, and the
Yeah.
best part of it all being you. And this is kind of something I've been battling lately, like, and trying to figure out avenues, but it's more just, it's you. So you're able to kind of, it's like you are the brand. It's not,
Yeah.
oh, it's a motivational channel. It's a motivational thing. I'm focusing on running today, or
Yeah.
family, the importance of family and what they mean to me. This is all me. So
Yep.
that's really
Yep.
cool. I like that. That's
Right.
kind of like you're aware of that, and that's kind of how, like, how you're exploring
Yeah.
it. So it's cool to see. It's cool to see. So I just want to give a shout out for that. So
Appreciate that. Thank
yeah,
you.
man. Yeah, no problem. So as you kind of come towards like the end of everything and stuff, and the end of the show, do you have any kind of final pieces of like feedback or things that, whether it be people you've seen or stories you've heard or things that you've seen, like advice pieces that you would give to somebody who maybe is in their mid-teens, they're competitive, they don't really know what avenue to explore, like how could they kind of discover what to do?
Yeah, sure. The best advice I would say for someone in their teens is you don't have to have it all figured out. And there's many different avenues you can pursue.
Mhm.
So you might see somebody who's a young stud, they have it, made, they're succeeding right now, and your
Yeah.
story doesn't quite look like theirs.
Right.
But in the end, after a few years and, maybe 10 years down the road, you might be at the same place that they're at, even though you started out way behind. So don't
Mhm.
feel like you have to have it all figured out in your teens. A good example is one of my training partners. His name is Kenny Bednarik.
Nice.
He went to a JUCO, and he's kind of, a late bloomer. Not really many people talked about him in high school. He went to a junior college, didn't have the grades to go to D1, but now he's the Olympic silver medalist in the 200. So does it really matter earlier on how you got there as
Yeah.
long as you get there? You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
some people do go to the big school. They're hot when they're in high school. They're hot when they're in college and they end up doing great stuff as a professional. Some people are hot when they're young and fizzle out. But it all depends on how consistent you are, how hungry you are, and how committed you are to getting to wherever it is you want to go. And
Nice.
sometimes you don't even have to know where you want to go. You'll just figure it out on the path. Just
Yeah.
commit to whatever it is you're passionate about at the moment, and eventually, the right people will help you find where you have to go. I never thought in a million years that this is where I'd be in my position today. When I was
Yeah.
a teenager, I had no idea about running professionally. I didn't know that
Jeez.
was a thing. I knew there's the Olympics, and
Yeah.
that was it. I didn't know about scholarships. I didn't know about the NCAA.
No
I didn't know
kidding.
about professional track or getting a shoe deal with Nike,
Yeah.
or, all the things
Jeez.
that I've done. And now I've traveled the world. I have a great career running for Nike, and I'm a 3-time Olympian, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But like the point is that you don't have to have it all figured out earlier on.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just need to be around people who are hungry and ambitious, and like, have some type of idea of what they want, and that might rub off onto you, and
Mhm.
they might help you try stuff that you never pictured yourself doing. So sometimes you
Yeah.
just have to just taste, like, hey, maybe I want to try this. Maybe I want to try this. Give stuff a try, be open to different things, and you might find something that sticks,
Yeah.
and that might turn into your career. But
Mhm.
when you're a team, there's a lot of pressure to be like everybody else, especially with social media and FOMO and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's bad.
So you might like compare yourself all the time, like, oh, I don't have it figured out, I'm worth this and whatever. And mental health's a big thing these days too. So like
Yeah.
the effects of mental health on you when you don't have it figured out and you see other people who do, and you feel like you're being left behind,
Mhm.
it weighs on people, man. So
It's
like
bad,
I don't
yeah.
want young people to feel like they have to have it all figured out right now.
Mhm.
You have time, and that's your biggest asset. So use it. Use that time to explore different avenues that you can pursue, and
Mhm.
you might find your passion. You might find what you like, and follow that, man. Just take it and run with it. See how far you can go with it.
Nice. I think that, yeah, I think that's super important. And like
Yeah.
being able to try different things, whether, and that could be said to anybody at any stage, at any point, right, in their
Mhm.
life or career. Like, I'm not sure if you know what you're doing in 5 years when you're like, if you want to retire from running or not, or whatever. But,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing at 30 either. So,
Right.
like, figure it out. Always
Yeah.
do. Everything seems to
Yeah.
work itself out. So,
Exactly.
you gotta believe in it and go forward, eh?
Right.
So, so Aaron, I want to express my sincerest gratitude for you giving me some time. I know you're a busy man, family man, so I really appreciate you carving out some time tonight to chat with me. I'm
No
really
doubt.
grateful for it. I look forward to. I have a plan where I want to be at the 2024 Olympics as
Okay.
like a ridiculous fan, like just be
Okay.
really enthusiastic, like
Yeah.
full bore, and I look forward to cheering you on,
That'd be awesome.
watching you grow and watching you race, and following the rest of your career. And I really appreciate you being able to tell your story with me today and sharing with my audience. And I'm excited to see how it all turns out. So thank you very much. And where can people find you?
First of all, appreciate you having me on. It was a
Yeah,
great conversation. Easy guy to talk to. So,
thank you, man.
it
Appreciate
was
it.
my pleasure. If people want to follow me on YouTube, my name is my full name, Aaron Kingsley Brown, or you could look up Kingsley TV. That's KINGSLEY TV on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. My handle is Kingsley SC. So think Kingsley, KINGSLEY, and then SC as in Southern California. So Kingsley SC.
See, nice, right on,
Yeah.
man.